Hello, Internet. This is BoneCarlos coming to you live from Ohana. And remember, Ohana means family never gets left behind. Or something along those lines. You ever see that? I've been scared.
No, I did see it. I do not remember that. I knew Ohana had something to do with family. I did not know that particular piece of trivia. Thank you.
Yeah. Ohana means family, and family means you never get left behind. Something along the. Oh, by the way, guys, this is I Big and Scary. We're co-casting today. In case you didn't, I'm not talking to myself, doing a different voice, but that is I Big and Scary. Say hello, dude.
Yep. Hey guys, I am indeed big and scary. I'm very happy to be here on the beach. Sipping the margaritas with my co-caster, BoneCarlos.
Legit. And it's going to be a ZVZ. Obviously, we already see an extractor trick going down by Cooltech, and Ruldane is actually doing the exact same thing. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Big and Scary? What race are you? What league are you? And all that other good stuff. Lie.
I was Zerg for the longest time. I'm kind of switching over to Protoss because I've noticed that with Zerg being such a reactionary base and so based heavily on micro in the early game, my playstyle kind of lends itself more to Protoss, which is a bit smoother, a bit easier to commit to a specific build order. So I'm going through a transition period, which is what people say whenever they're terrible. So I am in Platinum currently.
I said lie, dude.
I did. I'm really in Bronze.
Nice. We should see another extractor going down finally. Bob Ruldane. This one's actually going to stay there. We actually see, do I see a hatchery going down somewhere? Yep, a hatchery already going down by Ruldane. And he feels kind of safe and secure. This is going to be a ZVZ, so more than likely we're going to see some Zerglings, some Banelings, more than likely Mutalisks, Infestor, all that other fun jazz.
Yeah, Ruldane's actually getting that hatchery before spawning pool, which means he's going to be a bit exposed to Cooltech if he commits to some sort of early aggression. That is unlikely, though, as the hatchery was just started, but it's important to realize that that wasn't scouted by Ruldane until just now, so it's showing us that Ruldane is just a bit ballsy. He's not afraid to get out there and put himself exposed just so he can gain a bit of a leg up in the late game or the mid game.
Definitely. And this is just generally what happens when players just, this is what I'm going to do against this certain matchup on this certain map. Both these players are diamonds, so we see going to see some pretty decent play from both sides, and the hatchery is just popping. Two Zerglings are going to go ahead and cross the map, and that's just it from Cooltech. He's going to go ahead and switch over his queens as soon as that hatchery pops, so nothing else too crazy along these lines.
Yeah, we see another queen coming out of Cooltech's main as the queen that came out first moves down to the natural, but only the two Zerglings that are going down just to poke at the front door. We see a spine coming out from Ruldane, as well as a plethora of extra Zerglings just to protect himself from that extra expansion that he got out early.
And we actually see a spine crawler in the middle of Ruldane's natural expansion. He didn't manage to cancel it, though. But yeah, that was a little bit of an interesting choice. I'm not sure exactly why he canceled it. I guess Ruldane finally figured he didn't want a spine crawler in his natural expansion of his opponent, and it was actually good timing too, since a queen popped at just the right time to finally shoo him away.
Right, Ruldane would have had plenty of in that area with those Zerglings as well as the queen to destroy that spine, and that's 100 minerals that could be spent on some extra drones or even a spine crawler back at Cooldane's base.
And we actually see his own Cooltech is actually putting up a spine crawler of his own for defense, and a little bit of a divergence in play. Ruldane is actually putting down a Roach Warren, which if Cooltech does go Banelings, this is a great choice, but since it hasn't been scouted, anything hasn't been scouted really, it's an interesting choice really.
Yeah, and another thing to realize is that even though Ruldane grabbed that super early hatchery before pool, he's actually down by harvester count by just a little bit. Cooltech continually kind of perks ahead whenever his waves of drones comes out. So even though Ruldane took a bit of a risk by getting that early hatchery, he didn't really get much of a reward.
That is very true. Right now, the harvester count is actually another swarming of drones kind of pushes him back up into the lead. So yeah, it's very interesting to see that even though one player had his natural expansion up first, the drone count is still very similar, and especially since actually Cooltech is putting on 2 more spine crawlers to back up his original 2 that he already has. It looks like he's trying to do a little bit of a nice wall off while putting in a couple more Zerglings. So he's expecting some sort of attack sometime soon. Not sure exactly what he gleaned from his scouting. Maybe he saw something, the roaches with his Overlord. But I actually did see those roaches and those Zerglings stream across with that Overlord and decided to just put up the reactionary static defenses.
Sure, I mean, you see those roaches coming out, and you have to fear the worst, that it's going to be some sort of doom push coming out of Ruldane. But if we go back to his base, we can see that not a lot of gas has been taken. The drone production continues, as well as the macro hatch just now getting started. So I don't think that there's going to be a kind of all-in push, certainly not now that the plethora of crawlers has been completed.
Yeah, no, definitely. And he's just barely getting his double extractor up at his natural expansion. He barely got his second one at his main, and he only has 1 harvester on the first one that he built. So a little bit of a slip up there by Ruldane. But both the food counts are very even, and still both players are just kind of going into their groove, trying to get into the tech paths that they really want.
Yeah, Cooltech has a lot of money left over. I'm expecting him to grab another expansion shortly, or just a lot of units so that he can kind of take back the map control that he doesn't have right now, so that he could grab that expansion in the future.
He actually just put it down. He's actually, as soon as you said that he might put down an expansion, he put it down. So a little bit of a wizard, sir. Very nice play. But looking at both of players' screens, we actually see a nice little bit of overlord spread by both players, so they actually have pretty decent vision, and that's generally why I like watching a ZVZ, because there isn't much that could attack air for a Zerg player up until they get that Spire up and those Mutalisks are going up. I mean, sure, they have Queens, but they're so slow that really no point in trying to hide your Overlords. So both players are just kind of know exactly where the units are. Cooltech is trying to do a little bit of a run by, but more than likely this is just a scout, see exactly what's going on, see if there's a Spire going up already, maybe an infestation pit, and just pretty much just count to see exactly where his opponent is at, because 8 Zerglings at this state of the game, really not that big of a deal.
Certainly not, and especially with the force that Ruldane has out on the field right now, he's definitely going to be able to clean up these Zerglings very quickly. But he does get in there, just sees the double Evo, knows that all the gas are up and are continually mining that gas, so that gas has to be spent on something eventually. And yeah, those upgrades eat up a lot of gas, but I expect another tech structure to be thrown down shortly from Cooltech, if not another expansion.
Yeah, definitely. But both players, I mean, right now it looks like Cooltech is definitely behind in the food count. Actually, a nice stream of new roaches did kind of bump them up, but still it's 89 to 101 now. And I'm curious to see exactly what these guys' endgame plan is. I mean, there isn't any big oomph units on the field. Yeah, there are roaches, but both players have that. There's no infestors. There are no Mutalisks, and a nice little, looks like Ruldane tried to do a little bit of a run by, but these Zerglings are just going to hang out and then say, whoa, roaches beat us, we're going to go home.
Right, not much fun to be had with all that acid.
Yeah.
And those Zerglings come in, just see the lots of roaches and also the spine crawlers that are now protecting the third. I don't think either force that's out on the field is enough to even take out the third, let alone win the game at this time. I think both players are playing more for the late game rather than what's going on right now.
Yeah, right now this just feels like, I just get a feeling from Ruldane that this little push into his enemy's main base is just, I have to do something with what I'm doing. I think he feels like he was behind, so he forced himself into a bad situation. He lost a lot of roaches, a lot of units to try to do minimal damage. I mean, yeah, he picked off a queen, a couple of drones here and there, but that was just about it. Looking at the units lost, that we see Cooltech has 19 units lost, 1,000 resources, while Ruldane has 33 for 1,600 resources lost altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. That push was not worth it in any stretch of the imagination. However, it did succeed in taking out every single queen that Cooltech had out on the field, and that's going to translate directly into decreased larva production. And that's going to be key because Cooltech doesn't have that macro hatch up that Ruldane does have. So if Ruldane reacts correctly, if he capitalizes on that small, I guess,
window?
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah,
window of
window
opportunity while taking down the screens, and that's actually a great point. I did not see that at all. He actually, and now that I think about it, that was actually might have been a great play by Ruldane. I mean, if he ran out and just sniped every single queen, I mean, a single queen at the expansion, but it looks like that one was just hatched. With his macro hatch up and running, a single queen at each hatchery, including the macro hatch in the main, he could really bump up his food count very, very quickly in a short amount of time at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, both food counts are relatively even, but that can just show you the macro that Ruldane is working with. He's got 3 bases that are fully mining. He's constantly churning out those roaches. He's beginning to work hydras in there, and he's getting that level 2 missile attack. So I think he has created himself just a little bit of a lead, and I think Cooltech is feeling that the army he has out right now is going to be outnumbered in the future. So he needs to push out and actually see if he can create a window for himself.
Definitely, and that's actually what that push was for. I mean, it was a little bit of a roach versus roach battle at the moment, but as you could saw, Ruldane just had a nice concave and it was forced Cooltech to pull back. And now, looking at the units lost tab, I always love looking at the units lost tab, see exactly what happens after each engagement. And we actually see Ruldane actually pulled himself into the lead after that. I mean, he still has more units lost, but most of those are Zerglings, and now the resources do favor him in for about 4,000. So yeah, that Cooltech kind of just both players just not needlessly threw away, especially since those queens were taken down by Ruldane. But Cooltech definitely, that was just a bad engagement since he didn't take anything out besides those roaches.
Yeah, and Cooltech has bought himself enough time to get the infestors out, which is a tech that Ruldane has not decided to field yet. He does have a lot of those delicate hydras, which will begin to take out those overlords that we were talking about earlier, but they're so delicate against the mass fungal that Ruldane or Cooltech is actually throwing down right now on this engagement.
And that was actually huge loss by Ruldane, losing all of those hydras, losing all those roaches. I don't think he expected those infestors to be there. If those infestors weren't there, they would have been a different outcome. Unfortunately, Cooltech did lose all those infestors, but he did win the battle. Not sure exactly at what cost. The resources lost now actually favors Cooltech with all those hydras, those expensive, weak hydras, like you were saying before, really kind of swing the favor back into Cooltech. So right now, both players are both even in the food count. Ruldane managed to take his 4th base, but those roaches are going to swing up and take it out very quickly in a couple of volleys. This hatchery is going to die if it's not saved. And there it was, it wasn't saved, so a full 300 minerals lost while Cooltech takes a 4th of his own. And right now, Cooltech just saw that, took down that 4th, and said, hey, you know what? I am A-OK. He didn't cancel that. I have my 4th. I'm just going to go ahead and head on back home and just try to play a little bit more defensively.
Yeah, and Ruldane knows that 4th went up, and so he's assigned to push in with just a couple of Zerglings to pay that back. You can see that the Hydras production has continued, as well as the Infestor production from Cooltech. So both players are kind of happy with the unit composition they have right now, even though Ruldane kind of suffered a disastrous defeat a couple of seconds ago. Oh, and that hatchery does fall.
During that whole exchange. Yep, he manages to take out that hatchery with only like a dozen or so Zerglings, so tit for tat on both players. And right now, both players have been, this is a very even match between both players. They both made mistakes, but again, both of them have made mistakes. And right now, we see a couple of infestors actually going to swing by, but the Overseer is there to detect them. But then it looks like both armies just kind of high-five each other while they clock in and out to their respective bases. We see roaches in the natural of Ruldane, and Ruldane says, F this, I'm just going to go for it. He's going to go swing forward and try to take out that what's left of the remaining 4th base, while his expansion is down. Now it's going to be roaches into the 3rd base, while Ruldane is just kind of meandering about the middle of the map, going to take out those spine crawlers there at the 4th, or the remnants of the 4th base, and now he's just going to go ahead and push deep into the heart of Cooltech's base.
Yeah, and meandering was the perfect word to use there, because as Cooltech was incredibly focused, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, which was take out hatcheries, take out the economy, which is absolutely in shambles for Ruldane. Ruldane decided to dick around at the 4th and wasn't doing any economic damage, wasn't making his army work for the in-game. And as things are now, he's barely going to succeed in taking out the 3rd, but he's leaving the natural completely untouched and giving Cooltech enough time to pull his roaches all the way back and engage Ruldane.
Nice squeeze play by Cooltech, manages to get a fresh stream of roaches to cut off any sort of run by. Everything is just focused around that big ball, but the natural expansion does go down, so Ruldane actually manages to make that entire engagement worthwhile. Not so much worthwhile since Cooltech still has a huge amount of resources and roaches as well. I mean, he has 45 roaches streaming down into the 3rd base again of Ruldane, and Cooltech looks like he's sitting pretty, and all those drones are gonna get taken out. Roaches were there perfectly for the transfer. Cooltech has a huge amounts of resources, 1,600 minerals, 1,700 minerals. Ruldane knows it, lost the game, heads home. GG, no re.
And something else to point out is that there were 4 hatcheries being built for Ruldane, and each of those is 300 minerals, and he's got so much gas left over. If he had larva, if he could have spent that money on roaches instead, maybe he could have answered Cooltech's push right here. Maybe he could have pushed him back while only losing 1 or 2 of his expansion and get himself back into the game, but instead he decided to grab so many extra hatcheries, and that desperate grab really lost him.
Infestors versus Hydras. Infestors win, I guess, is the name of this game.
Yeah.
So that was it for this cast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, I blame I Big and Scary, because really, who doesn't enjoy BoneCarlos by himself, right? Right.
I blame the beach of Ohana, because I've been sipping the margaritas just a little bit too much, and so if I can blame an inanimate object, I'm going to.
Hey, dude, have you seen In Bruges? Oh my God. I will link you to that scene. I'm glad you brought up an inanimate object. I'm glad you brought up drinking too, because we're gonna need to have some drunken casts. If anybody I'm still recording. Fuck it. Whatever. If you guys know me and know my casting for StarCraft 2, you guys know from time to time my 2 drunk casts. So I Being Scary, you and I drunk cast, and hopefully Killer Quad could upload a drunk replay. We'll get some drunk viewers.
Oh,
we'll just get drunk all around.
It's just a whole new meaning to Barcast.
Definitely. So that was it. I'm gonna get on out here before I just chat this thing up. Later, guys.
Hey, bye.